It's time for NFL Week 2 recap. Let's go. Packers versus Commanders on Thursday Night Football. This was a completely one-sided game, and Washington, what is their play calling? They are throwing 3-yard checkdowns on 3rd and long. Why? Just why? And not only that, Washington made Jordan Love look like prime Joe Montana, and Tucker Kraft look like prime George Kittle. Washington didn't even score a touchdown until the fourth quarter, which is pretty pathetic, honestly. And there were some notable injuries in this game. Jayden Reed injured his collarbone and his foot, and Austin Ekeler tore his Achilles, and he's going to be out for the whole season. And also, as of me recording this, Jaden Daniels is going to be out with a knee sprain. So that means Commanders fans had to deal with Marcus Mariota for a couple of weeks. Good luck. Cowboys versus Giants. Wow, we actually got an entertaining game between the Cowboys and the Giants. And you're not going to believe this, but Russell Wilson played the best passing game of his career in a loss. Shocker. It was back and forth the entire way through, and then Brandon Aubrey nailed a 64-yard field goal to send the game into overtime. And in overtime, both teams exchanged punts, and then the Cowboys got deep into Giants territory, and Brandon Aubrey nailed a 46-yard game-winning field goal as the clock hit 0 to win 40-37. And you're not going to believe this, but Brandon Aubrey is the first kicker in NFL history to nail a game-time field goal as the clock hit 0 and a game-winning field goal as the clock hit 0 in the exact same game. Mind-blowing. I think it's safe to say that Brandon Aubrey is probably the best kicker in the league right now. And he used to be a soccer player, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. But anyways, a huge win for the Cowboys. And as for the Giants, it was a heartbreaking loss. But they showed that they are really competitive. I just hope they can do that next week against the Chiefs. Steelers versus Seahawks. What a really bizarre game this was. Both quarterbacks combined for 4 interceptions. And Seattle took over this game in the second half when they scored 24 unanswered points. And I know the Steelers' biggest excuse is that Caleb Johnson screwed them over, in which they're not wrong, but outside of that Caleb Johnson situation, you guys really shot yourselves in the foot. Outside of DK Metcalf scoring a touchdown, Chris Boswell did all of the heavy lifting for the Steelers. But hey, at least Jaylen Warren played really good. But as for the Seahawks, Jackson Smith-Njigba had a really good game. 8 receptions for 103 yards. So congrats to the Seahawks on a big 31-17 win. Titans versus Rams. The Rams absolutely went to town on Tennessee, and the biggest stars for the Rams was Matt Stafford with 298 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and also Davante Adams, who had 6 receptions for 106 yards, a receiving touchdown, and a rushing touchdown. And as for the Titans, literally outside of Cam Ward and Tony Pollard, the Titans roster is garbage. Jets versus Bills. The Bills absolutely went to town on New Jersey, and it wasn't even that close. The biggest stars for the Bills was Josh Allen, 148 passing yards, and James Cook with 21 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. And there was also a big moment in the game where Josh Allen had a bloody nose in this game, but came back just like that. And as for the Jets, Justin Fields suffered a concussion, leading the way to Tyrod Taylor, who had 1 touchdown and 56 passing yards. So congrats to Buffalo on an easy win against the New Jersey Jets. Dolphins versus Patriots. Honestly, there are 2 things I can take away from this game. 1, Tua is back to being his horrible self that we've seen in the first 2 years of his NFL career. And the other is that Tyreek Hill honestly hates being in Miami at this point. Don't worry, Dolphins fans. Tyreek Hill once allegedly committed domestic violence against his ex-girlfriend and quit on your team, and you still praise him. And I think it's safe to say that Mike McDaniel should be fired. He is horrible. But as for the game itself, it was actually really competitive. And Miami kind of shot themselves in the foot. Where on one specific play, Tua missed a wide open tight end and threw a horrible interception. And Devon Achane could have had a game-leading touchdown to make it 34-33, but his foot was out of bounds, which made it 33-27. They tried to score, but they couldn't do it, giving New England the 33-27 win. Bengals versus Jaguars. This is a bittersweet victory for the Bengals. On one hand, we start off the season 2-0, and on the other hand, Joe Burrow got hurt from turf toe and will miss 3 months. And yes, I am butthurt. But have no fear, Jake Browning saved the day for the Bengals. Even though he threw 3 interceptions, he did had 2 passing touchdowns, including a QB sneak for a touchdown to give Cincinnati a 31-27 win. Saints versus 49ers. You won't believe this, but Spencer Rattler played really good in a loss. And now Spencer Rattler is 0-8 as an NFL starter. Hooray, Spencer. But as for the Niners, Mac Jones actually played a really good game. 279 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. But I'm going to be honest with you, there isn't really anything memorable to even talk about in this game, so yeah. Next. Ravens versus Browns. The Ravens, unsurprisingly, kicked the ever-living snot out of the Browns 41-17. And Lamar Jackson played like an MVP candidate. 225 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. And if you guys think Lamar Jackson can't throw, educate yourself. He can actually throw. As for the Browns, Joe Flacco had a really frustrating day. And Quinshon Judkins was their rushing leader. He really should be suspended or in jail, but he's playing football instead. God, isn't it just so great that bad people deserve good things? Lions versus Bears. You're not going to believe this, but Ben Johnson helped the Lions score 52 points. But he is not on the Lions. And Jared Goff played an amazing game. 334 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 12 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had 9 receptions for 115 yards and a career-high 3 touchdowns. As for the Bears, Caleb Williams did really well in the first half, but struggled in the second half. DeAndre Swift had a touchdown, and Rome Odunze had 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. And there were also some viral moments where Ben Johnson was frustrated with reporters during his press conference. And I know the reporters asked really dumb questions, which led to Johnson being frustrated. And I can't say I blame him. But as a coach, you need to handle those questions appropriately. And I know you play for the Bears, so it sucks. Colts versus Broncos. How is the Daniel Jones-led Colts 2-0 right now? And I know the Broncos fans' excuse will be that the refs screwed them over. No, you guys shot yourselves in the foot. It's not the refs that cost you that win. It was yourselves. I know it's really early, but the Colts are actually playing really good football right now. But I'm still not buying this team quite yet. I need to wait a couple of weeks to really buy into this team. But as of now, I'm really surprised that the Colts are playing this good. Cardinals versus Panthers. I'm going to be honest with you, I did not watch a single moment from this game. So I guess I'll say Kyler Murray had a respectable day, James Conner had a touchdown, and Bryce Young threw 3 touchdowns but 1 interception. But I will give Bryce Young some props for putting up respectable numbers in the loss. So, yeah. And with that, Arizona sits at 2-0 and the Panthers drop to 0-2. Chiefs versus Eagles. This is a valid reason why the Chiefs are exposed. They went into Arrowhead and all they had to do was get a defensive stop and get the ball back, possibly send the game in overtime or win the game, but they didn't, and they'll get a second loss to Philly this year. Travis Kelce had a really frustrating day. He would have gotten a touchdown in the end zone to at least give KC the lead, but he bobbled the pass and it was intercepted. And Travis Kelce, friendly advice, do not ever wear this t-shirt. Okay? Why would you show support to a guy who led a multiple car crash pileup and fled the scene, not even checking in on people, even if some of those people are little kids? Why? Just why? But anyways, a huge 20-17 Eagles win sounds about right. Vikings versus Falcons on Sunday Night Football. This was one of the worst games of the week. And Atlanta literally won on a silver platter because the Vikings were just shooting themselves in the foot. More specifically, J.J. McCarthy, who had 158 passing yards and 2 interceptions. And the biggest star of this game was Parker Romo, the new Falcons starting kicker, who had 5 field goals, 38 yards, 29 yards, 33 yards, 33 yards again, and 54 yards. And the only touchdown that was scored was from Tyler Algier, and that was late in the game. But anyways, congrats to the Falcons, I guess. Texans versus Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. This was a really entertaining game, and it went down to the last play of the game. Houston was up 19-14 with Nick Chubb scoring a rushing touchdown, and then Tampa Bay had less than 2 minutes to score, and Baker Mayfield did not disappoint. Despite having an injured ankle, he marched Tampa Bay deep in Houston territory and set up Rachaad White with the game-winning rushing touchdown to give Tampa Bay a 20-19 victory. And finally, Raiders versus Chargers on Monday Night Football. This was a completely one-sided game. Justin Herbert played a really good game, 242 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and also rushing for 9 carries for 31 yards. And as for the Raiders, Geno Smith had a really frustrating day. He was running for his life all game long and threw 3 interceptions. But Ashton Jeanty played really well. But please give him more carries.